Good evening, one and all. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2022-2023, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 76 years of independence, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030, as part of awareness and campaigns in collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः.
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's sessions. We have also shared the registration form in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly register. And at the end of the sessions, there will be a feedback form that will be shared in the form of polls in the Zoom platform, where you can provide your feedback to be eligible for this certificate. And all the certificates will be issued at once. And we know that there was a break for last 1 week due to unavoidable reasons. And we had few commemorations, especially on 18th November, which is World Day for the Prevention of and Healing from Child Sexual Exploitation, Abuse and Violence. And also on 19th, World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims, and 19th November is also commemorated as World Toilet Day. On 20th November, we had Africa Industrialization Day and also World Children's Day on 20th November. On 21st November, we had World Television Day. On 25th November, we had International Day for the Elimination of Violence against Women. On 26th, we had World Sustainable Transport Day. And today, 29th November, is the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. So we'll be commemorating all these days, which we have missed in the past 1 week, today. So 18th November is commemorated as World Day for the Prevention of and Healing from Child Sexual Exploitation, Abuse and Violence, which is commemorated every year on 18th November. Prevention, protection and healing. Worldwide, it is estimated that approximately 120 million females under the age of 20 have experienced various forms of forced sexual contact. While there are no global estimates available for sexual violence against boys, data from 24 predominantly high and middle income countries indicate that the prevalence ranges from 8% to 31% among girls and 3% to 17% among boys under the age of 18. 1 in 4 children under 5 years live with a mother who is a victim of intimate partner violence. Adults who experience 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, including physical, sexual, and emotional abuse, are 7 times more likely to be involved in interpersonal violence as a victim or perpetrator, and 30 times more likely to attempt suicide. 1 in 20 men admitted to online sexualized behavior towards children who were known to be below the age of 12. So on this day, there are 3 key issues: prevention, protection, and healing. Global issues. Globally, countless young individuals are victims of sexual misconduct and exploitation. Such violations are pervasive, cutting across all nations and societal strata. Children, especially girls, are at a greater risk of experiencing forced sex and sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence, including both online and offline. And it's also a common situation during armed conflicts. In the global context of multiple challenges, the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, conflicts, climate change, and disasters, the inadequate action or measures to address the root causes, such as the rising inequalities, deepening poverty, and structural discrimination on intersecting grounds, continue to exacerbate the situations that expose children to exploitation, abuse, and violence. Child victims and survivors of such crimes can face long lasting negative impacts on their physical, mental, and sexual health and development. Such trauma and children may even mount to torture and other cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment. Many victims and survivors never disclose and or seek justice, rehabilitation, or support because of the shame. For many victims and survivors, their child abuse experience affects their physical and mental health and well-being. And sometimes there are lifelong consequences. In the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the dignity of the children and their right to live free and from violence is placed as a priority of the International Development Agenda through implementation of the range of goals and targets of 2023 Agenda relevant to ending exploitation, abuse, trafficking, torture, and all forms of violence against children, as well as eliminating all harmful practices such as the child, early and forced marriages, and female genital mutilation, which place children at risk of experiencing child sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence. Helping to heal children and adolescents who have been sexually abused. Sexual abuse of children and adolescents is a gross violation of their rights and global public health problem. It adversely affects the health of the children and adolescents. Healthcare providers are in unique position to provide an empathetic response to children and adolescents who have been sexually abused. Such a response can go a long way in helping survivors recover from the trauma or sexual abuse. The sexual abuse and exploitation of children is a violation of human rights and a public health problem with significant consequences for global health and development. Affirming the need to eliminate and prevent all forms of child sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence, and to promote the dignity and rights, including mental and physical health and healing of those who experience child sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence. On 7th November 2022, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 77 by 8, proclaiming 18th November of each year as the World Day for the prevention of and healing from child sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence. The United Nations invites all member states, relevant organizations of the United Nations system, and other international organizations, world leaders, faith actors, civil society, including non governmental organizations, academic institutions, and the private sector, and other relevant stakeholders to commemorate the World Day for the Prevention of and Healing from Child Sexual Exploitation, Abuse, and Violence each year in a manner that each considers most appropriate. This includes commitments to ensure quality education and to raise public awareness of those affected by child sexual abuse and need to prevent to eliminate sexual exploitation, abuse, and violence, including online and offline. There is an imperative to the benefits, imperative to hold perpetrators to account, ensure the access of survivors and victims to justice and remedies, as well as to facilitate open discussion on the need to prevent and eliminate their stigmatization, promote their healing, affirm their identity, dignity, and protect their rights. Action to end child sexual abuse and exploitation. Child sexual abuse and exploitation remain concealed and stigmatized in many regions worldwide. To address this issue and break the cultural barriers of silence and resistance, it's essential to disseminate knowledge and effective strategies, starting from community levels and extending to national approaches. The report, Action to End Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation, delves into the need for distinct strategies in combating various forms of sexual abuse and exploitation. In the aftermath of World War II, and the plight of Europe's children was grave, and a new agency created by the United Nations stepped in to provide food and clothing and health care to these children. In 1953, UNICEF became a permanent part of the UN. Today, the agency works in more than 190 countries and territories, focusing special effort on reaching the most vulnerable and excluded children to the benefit of all children everywhere. So, sexual abuse of children and adolescents is a gross violation of their rights and a global public health problem. It adversely affects the health of children and adolescents. Healthcare providers are in a unique position to provide an empathetic response to children and adolescents who have been sexually abused. Such a response can go a long way in helping survivors recover from the trauma of sexual abuse. World Health Organization has published new clinical guidelines responding to the children and adolescents who have been sexually abused, aimed at helping frontline healthcare workers, primarily from low resource settings, in providing evidence based, quality, trauma informed care to survivors. The guidelines emphasize the importance of promoting safety, offering choices, and respect the wishes and autonomy of children and adolescents. They cover recommendations for post rape care and mental health and approaches to minimizing distress in the process of taking medical history, conducting examination, and documenting findings. So 19th November is commemorated as World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. Road traffic injuries is leading killer of people aged between 5 to 29 years. The Global Status Report on Road Safety, launched by World Health Organization by WHO in December 2018, highlights that the number of annual road traffic deaths has reached 1.35 million. Road traffic injuries are now the leading killer of people aged 5 to 29 years. The burden is disproportionately borne by the pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. In particular, those living in developing countries. The report also indicates that the progress to realize Sustainable Development Goals target 3.6, which calls for a 50% reduction in the number of road traffic deaths by 2020, remains far from sufficient. More than half of all road traffic deaths are among vulnerable road users, who are pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists. Pedestrians, cyclists, and riders of motorized two and three-wheelers and their passengers are collectively known as vulnerable road users and account for half of all road traffic deaths around the world. A higher proportion of vulnerable road users die in low-income countries than in high-income countries. So, on this day, let's remember, support, and act. The World Day of Remembrance for the Road Traffic Victims 2023 puts the spotlight on justice, traffic law enforcement, thorough investigation after a crash to find out if a crime was committed, and to prevent recurrence, criminal prosecution where appropriate, and civil compensation are all part of the justice system. When carried out seriously, fairly, and consistently, such as a system in which road crash victims who have been injured or had a family member killed as a result of someone's law breaking or negligence deserve and wish for, since it also represents a main factor of prevention, and this would mean that lessons are learned from their tragedies so that they may not be repeated. Origins and significance of the day, when we look at, since the adoption of World Day of Remembrance of Road Traffic Victims pursuant to General Assembly Resolution 60 by 5, the observation or the observance has spread to a growing number of countries on every continent. The day has become an important tool in global efforts to reduce road casualties. It offers an opportunity for drawing attention to the scale of emotional and economic devastation caused by road crashes, and for giving recognition to the suffering of road crash victims and the work of support and rescue services. The objectives of the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims are to provide a platform for road traffic victims and their families to remember all people killed and seriously injured on the roads, acknowledge the crucial work of the emergency services, draw attention to the generally trivial legal response to culpable road deaths and injuries, advocate for better support for the road advocate for better support for road traffic victims and victim families, promote evidence-based actions to prevent and eventually stop further road traffic deaths and injuries. A dedicated website was launched to make the day more widely known and to link countries through sharing common objectives and the remembrance of people killed and injured in crashes. In September 2020, the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 74 by 299, improving global road safety, proclaiming the decade of action for road safety, that is 2021 to 2030, with the ambitious target of preventing at least 50% of road traffic accidents, deaths, and injuries by 2030. World Health Organization and the UN regional commissions, in cooperation with other partners in the UN Road Safety Collaboration, have developed a global plan for the decade of action. Also, to highlight the plight of children on the world's roads and generate action to better ensure their safety, the UN organizes the Global Road Safety Week. Road traffic injuries cause considerable economic losses to individuals, their families, and to the nations as a whole. These losses arise from the cost of treatment as well as the loss of productivity for those killed or disabled by their injuries and for family members who need to take time off work or school to care for the injured. Road traffic crashes cost most countries 3% of their gross developed domestic product, GDP. Global Plan for the Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021 to 2030. This global plan has been developed by the World Health Organization and the United Nations Regional Commissions in cooperation with partners in the National Road Safety Collaboration and other stakeholders as a guiding document to support implementation of the Decade of Action 2021 to 2030 and its objectives. So the Global Status Report on the Road Safety 2018, launched by World Health Organization in December 2018, highlights that the number of annual road traffic deaths has reached 1.35 million. Road traffic injuries are now the leading killer of people aged 5 to 29 years. The burden is disproportionately borne by pedestrians, cyclists and motorcyclists in particular, those living in developing countries. The report suggests that the price paid for mobility is too high, especially because proven measures exist. Drastic action is needed to put these measures in place to meet any future global target that might set and save lives. So the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims, which has a dedicated website. We do not want more victims to remember. We want to live our lives together. So remember, support, act. So as every year, the objectives of World Day of Remembrance 2023 are to provide a platform for road traffic victims and their families to remember all people killed and seriously injured on the roads, acknowledge the crucial work of the emergency services, draw attention to the generally trivial legal response to culpable road deaths and injuries, and advocate for an appropriately serious response, advocate for better support for road traffic victims and victim families, promote evidence based actions to prevent and eventually stop further road traffic deaths and injuries. Every year, millions more road victims are added to the current toll of over 50 million killed and hundreds of millions injured since the first road death 125 years ago last August, a disaster that continues day in and day out in all countries of the world, which is recorded and taken as first road accident or road death. It is an actual pandemic affecting primarily our vulnerable and our young, which, in addition to the trauma of injury and bereavement, has also a devastating economic impact for countries, communities, and families. Therefore, during the new decade of action, 2021 to 2030, the World Day will have the important role of helping to achieve the 50% road casualty reduction target. So, the World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims puts the spotlight on justice, traffic law enforcement through investigation, offer after a crash to find out if a crime was committed and to prevent recurrence, criminal prosecution where appropriate, and civil compensation are all part of the justice system when carried out seriously, fairly, and consistent. Such a system is what road crash victims who have been injured or had a family member killed as a result of someone's law breaking or negligence deserve and wish for, since it also represents a main factor of prevention, and this would mean that the lessons are learnt from their tragedies so that they may not be repeated. Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021 to 2030. In September 2020, the UN General Assembly adopted Resolution 74 by 299, improving global road safety, proclaiming the Decade of Action for Road Safety 2021 2030, with the ambitious target of preventing at least 50% of road traffic deaths and injuries by 2030. World Health Organization and the UN regional commissions, in cooperation with other partners in UN Road Safety Collaboration, have developed a global plan for the Decade of Action, which was released in October 2021. The global plan aligns with the Stockholm Declaration by emphasizing the importance of holistic approach to road safety and calling on continuous improvements in the design of roads and vehicles, enhancement of laws and law enforcement, and the provision of timely life-saving emergency care for the injured. The global plan also reflects the Stockholm Declaration's promotion of policies to promote walking, cycling, and using public transport as inherently healthy and environmentally sound modes of transport. Progress made during the previous decades of action for road safety 2011 to 2020 has laid the foundation for the acceleration action in the years ahead. Among achievements are inclusion, the launch of the Global Status Report on Road Safety 2023 will be held on 13 December 2023 and details the scale of global traffic deaths and progress in advancing laws, strategies, and policies to reduce them around the world. The 2023 report provides the first complete overview of the progress made during the United Nations Decade of Action for Road Safety 2011 to 2020, sets a baseline for the Decade of Action for Road Safety for 2021 to 2030. The UN Global Road Safety Week, the United Nations General Assembly mandated World Health Organization and the UN regional commissions to plan and host periodic UN Global Road Safety Weeks to serve as a platform for global and regional, but mainly national and local activities to raise awareness about road safety issues and to stimulate and advance responses as appropriate for these settings. So, 7th UN Global Road Safety Week with the theme Streets for Life, Rethink Mobility has been commemorated from 15th to 21st May 2023. 19th November is also commemorated as World Toilet Day. There are 3.5 billion people living without safe toilets and 2.2 billion persons living without safe drinking water. 419 million people still go to the toilets in the open defecation. 2 billion people, a quarter of the world's population, lack basic hand washing facilities at home to wash their hands with soap and water. Unsafe water, sanitation, and hygiene are responsible for the deaths of around 1,000 children under 5 every day, as per UNICEF 2023 sources. At the current rate, 3 billion people will still be living without safe toilets, 2 billion will be without safe drinking water, 1.4 billion $1.4 billion will lack basic hygiene facilities by 2030, as per World Health Organization and UNICEF 2023. So, accelerating change, the hummingbird is the symbol of World Toilet Day and World Water Day 2023. In the ancient story, a hummingbird does what she can to fight a great fire, carrying droplets of water in her beak. Her actions, even though small, are helping to solve a big problem. So, this year's theme is accelerating change, using the hummingbird to inspire people to take personal action to help improve toilets and sanitation systems. Right now, we are seriously off track to meet Sustainable Development Goal 6, safe toilets and water for all by 2030. Governments and institutions must be accountable for delivering on their promises, and every one of us must do what we can to help speed up the progress. A toilet is small but mighty, just like a hummingbird. Toilets are a foundation stone of public health and play a crucial role in protecting the environment. To leave so many people behind without safe toilets puts in jeopardy the entire 2030 agenda, with the poorest people, particularly women and girls, paying the highest price in terms of poor health, missed education, loss of productivity, and general insecurity. The World Toilet Day 2023 campaign asks people to be like a hummingbird, to take simple actions to help accelerate change. So, what you can do? Be the changer, or be the change you want to see. So, with just 7 years left, the world has to work on average 5 times faster to meet the sanitation target of SDG 6, safe toilets and water for all by 2030 on time. Sanitation and drinking water are human rights, and access to these services is critical to people's health and the integrity of the environment. Over 7,000 people have already committed to take water and sanitation related actions. To help accelerate change towards SDG 6. UN Water, coordinating the UN's work on water and sanitation. There is no single UN entity dedicated exclusively to water issues. Over 30 UN organizations carry out water and sanitation programs, reflecting the fact that water issues run through all of the UN's main focus areas. UN's water role is to coordinate them all so that the UN family delivers as one in response to the water related challenges. A blueprint for acceleration on water and sanitation, the world is seriously off track to meet internationally agreed water related goals and targets, including Sustainable Development Goal SDG 6 to ensure availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all by 2030. UN Water Blueprint for Acceleration SDG 6 Synthesis Report on Water and Sanitation 2023 is a concise guide to rapidly delivering concrete results. So be the change you want to see in the world. There is an ancient story of a hummingbird, and it's about how we react to a crisis. Right now, we face a water and sanitation crisis. Do we stand and stare, or do we act? One day in the forest, a fire broke out. All the animals ran for their lives. They stood at the edge of the blaze, looking at the flames in terror and sadness. Up above their heads, a hummingbird was flying back and forth to the fire, over and over again. The bigger animals asked the hummingbird what she was doing. I am flying to the lake to get water to help put out the fire. The hummingbird replied. The animals laughed at her and said, You can't put out this fire. The hummingbird replied, I am doing what I can. So this should be our perspective, our attitude, our willingness to contribute whatever little we can to the cause. The hummingbird is helping solve the problem. One drop at a time. She is being the change she wants to see in the world. You can be a hummingbird too, like we are contributing to the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav series, like we are commemorating the India's G20 presidency series every day to mark our celebrations, commemorations, and respect, and our contribution, whatever little it takes from our side. So the actions you take, no matter how small, will help solve the water crisis. So did you know that a hummingbird is a natural sanitation champion? They instinctively keep their nest free from bodily waste to protect their young. The hummingbird shows us the power of doing what we can. So what people are doing in your region, find out. The three most popular actions in Eastern and Southeastern Asia: saving water, Take shorter showers and don't let the tap run while brushing your teeth, doing dishes, and preparing food. Stop polluting. Don't put food waste, oils, medicines, and chemicals down your toilet or drains. Protect nature. Plant a tree or create a rain garden. Use natural solutions to reduce the risk of flooding and store water, and many more. Now, you can make a list of personal commitments to solve the water and sanitation crisis. Choose your actions. Like the ones mentioned above, break taboos, talk about the critical connection between toilets, water, and menstruation, menstrual hygiene. Eat local, buy local, seasonal food, and look for products made with less water. Be curious, find out where my water comes from and how it is shared, and visit a treatment plant to see how my waste is managed. Make it equal. Share water fetching between women, men, girls, and boys. Protect nature. Flush safe. Fix leaking water and waste pipes. Empty full septic tanks. And report dumping of sludge. Build pressure. Write to our elected representatives about budgets for improving water at home and abroad. Stop polluting. Don't put food waste, oils, medicines, and chemicals down your toilet or drains. Clean up. Take part in the cleanup of your local rivers, lakes, wetlands, or beaches. You can contribute in your own way, and every small act matters. And 20th November is also commemorated every year as Africa Industrialization Day. Industrialization for development. Industrial development is of critical importance for sustained and inclusive economic growth in African countries. Industry can enhance productivity, increase the capabilities of the workforce, and generate employment by introducing new equipment and new techniques. Industrialization with strong linkages to domestic economies will help African countries achieve high growth rates, diversify their economies, and reduce their exposure to external shocks. This will substantially contribute to the poverty eradication through employment and wealth creation. In July 1989, the Organization of African Unity, OAU, conducted its 25th ordinary session of the Assembly of the Heads of the State and Government in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Africa Industrialization Day was announced on November 20. During this session, within the framework of Second Industrial Development Decade for Africa, 1991 to 2000, the United Nations General Assembly in December 1989 proclaimed 20th November Africa Industrialization Day, Wide Resolution 44 by 237. Since then, the United Nations system has held events on that day throughout the world to raise awareness about the importance of Africa's industrialization and the challenges faced by the continent. So, Agenda 2063, adopted in January 2015 by the heads of the states and governments of the African Union in Addis Ababa, is Africa's blueprint and master plan for transforming Africa into the global powerhouse of the future. Based on the 7 aspirations and 20 priorities, it is the continent's strategic framework that aims to deliver on its goal for inclusive and sustainable development and is a concrete manifestation of the Pan-African drive for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity pursued under Pan-Africanism and African Renaissance. The need to envision a long-term 50-year development trajectory for Africa is important, as Africa needs to revise and adapt its development agenda due to ongoing structure and transformations to ensure inclusive growth, sustainable development, political unity, and respect for democracy and human rights. Agenda 2063 and the SDGs are intertwined as two programs aim at a more sustainable common future of the healthy planet. African Economic Conference 2023, in short known as AEC, jointly organized by African Development Bank, AFDB, the Economic Commission for Africa, ECA, and the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. Was held in Addis Ababa at the UN Conference Center in hybrid format between 16 to 18 November 2023. The theme of this conference was Imperatives for Sustainable Industrial Development in Africa and has provided platform for established academicians and young researchers to present their solution-oriented research to policymakers and decision makers. On 25th July 2016, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 2016 to 2025 as the third industrial development decade for Africa, as International Industrial Development Decade for Africa 3, IDDA 3. UNIDO was tasked with leading the implementation of the decade. In collaboration with a range of partners, the vision for the implementation of the IDDA 3 is to firmly anchor Africa on the path towards inclusive and sustainable development. So November 20 is also commemorated as World's Children's Day with the theme 2023 for every child, every right. World's Children's Day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day and is celebrated on 20th November each year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and improving children's welfare. November 20th is an important date as it is the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of Rights of the Child. It is also the date in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Since 1990, World Children's Day also marks the anniversary of the date that the UN General Assembly adopted both the Declaration and Convention on Children's Rights. Mothers and fathers, teachers, nurses and doctors, government leaders, and civil society activists, religious and community elders, corporate mogulars, and media professionals, all, as well as young people and children themselves, can play an important part in making World's Children's Day relevant for their societies, communities, and nations. World's Children's Day offers each of us an inspirational entry point to advocate, promote, and celebrate children's rights, translating into dialogues and actions that will build a better world for children. So, World's Children's Day is UNICEF's annual day of action for children by children. From climate change, education, mental health, to ending racism and discrimination, children and young people are raising their voices on the issues that matter to their generation and calling for adults to create a better future. This World's Children's Day is more important than ever that the world listens to their ideas and demands. On 20th November, kids are speaking out and reimagining a better future. What will you do? Explore what's happening in this World's Children's Day and see how you can take part. So there are also related observances and commemorations related to children. 4th June is commemorated as International Day of Innocent Children, victims of aggression. 12th June is commemorated as World Day Against Child Labor. 12th August is commemorated as International Youth Day. 11th October is commemorated as International Day of the Girl Child. In the aftermath of World War II, the plight of Europe's children was grave, and a new agency was created by the United Nations, stepped in to provide food and clothing and health care to these children. In 1953, UNICEF became a permanent part of the United Nations. Today, the agency works in more than 190 countries and territories, focusing special effort on reaching the most vulnerable and excluded children to the benefit of all children everywhere. So, in 2023, World's Children Day was an opportunity to recognize children as rights holders, to acknowledge the progress that has been made for and with children, and to demand action to protect and fulfill the rights of every child. We'll watch one short video.
I have rights. You have rights. We all
Viz lives with Mama and Grandpa, big sister Cece, and baby brother Bicky. But her best friend is their pet Zuko. Viz loves playing with Zuko.
Can you wiggle like Zuko? Wiggle whatever you can. Hand, toes, eyes, nose, or tail.
Viz loves stories.
We love stories. We love stories. We love stories. Do you love stories? This is a story about me and Zuko and our friend Lipa. This story is called We All Have Rights. Rights are things you need to live a safe and happy life.
Rights are things you need to live a safe and happy life.
Every person in the whole wide world has rights, but children have special rights. We are children. We are special.
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights. I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
This is a story about the special rights of children. Everybody must know children's rights. Let's find out more. Let's read the story. It's about me and Zuko and our friend Lipa trying to find colourful pictures that explain children's rights.
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Hello, my name is Lipa. I'm Viz's friend. Let's have an adventure. Find these colors which explain children's rights.
I found the colours on the flag.
Each color shows a different right that children have. Let's spin the colors round like a wheel and see where it stops.
Spin the colours round and round. Lipa, say stop.
Stop!
It stopped on green. We're turning green as well because we have this right. Ooh, that tickles.
The green picture means that children have the right to a name. My name's Lipa. What's your name?
Viz, what's your name?
Zuko!
What's your name?
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Great! Let's find more colors that explain children's rights.
I found the colours on the tree. Spin the colours round and round. Zuko, say stop. Ooh, we're turning pink. That tickles. What right is this?
We have the right to help when we're sick, clean water to drink and wash, healthy food, and a safe place to live.
What's your favourite food?
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Great! Let's find more colors that explain children's rights.
I found the colours on the rock. Spin the colours round and round. Viz, say stop. Stop!
Stop! Look out, Viz!
Thanks, Lipa. You protected us. Ooh, we're turning light blue. That tickles. What right is this?
children have the right to be safe. No one should hurt us, and adults need to protect us.
What happens if somebody hurts us?
We should tell an adult we like and trust. Don't be afraid to tell someone.
I'd tell Mama or Grandpa or Auntie Zeno. Who would you tell?
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Great! Let's find more colors that explain children's rights.
I found the colors on the cloud. Spin the colors round and round. Leaper, say stop.
Stop!
Ooh, we're turning dark blue. That tickles. What right is this?
We have the right to say what we think, but not in a rude way or in a way that hurts others.
Oh, the colors are spinning again. We're turning medium blue. That tickles. What right is this?
Adults must listen to what we say and take us seriously.
Do you have a good idea to share?
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Great! Let's find more colors that explain children's rights.
I found the colors on the ball. Spin the colors round and round. Zuko, say stop. Oh, we're turning light purple. That tickles. What right is this?
We have the right to play, rest, make music, and pictures.
What's your favorite game or song or picture?
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Great! Let's find more colors that explain children's rights.
I found the colors on the flower. Spin the colors round and round. This, say stop. Stop. Oh, we're turning dark purple. That tickles. What right is this?
We have the right to be looked after by adults who will love us and protect us. This can be our mom or dad or other adults.
Oh, the colors are spinning. We're turning blue again. That tickles. What right is this?
Adults should help us with all our rights. As we grow up, they should help us do more and more things on our own.
Let's remember our rights so far. We've already explored some of our rights. You can keep learning about the others.
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights. I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
These rights are ours, just because we're children. Nobody can take these rights away from us or refuse to give them to us. But we will often need adults to help us get them and be able to use them.
I don't understand. Can you please explain, Lipa?
For example, if we are sick, we have the right to be taken care of and we will need adults to take us to the doctor. We have the right to food, but we need adults to prepare food for us.
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
All these rights are very important. I'm glad I have them.
Yes, but it's not just you. All children in the whole world have them.
I found the colors on your wheelchair. Spin the colors round and round. Lipa, say stop.
Stop!
Ooh, we're turning orange. That tickles. What right is this?
All children have all these rights. It doesn't matter if you're a girl or a boy, or if you're big or small. It doesn't matter where you live or what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor.
Oh, the colors are spinning again. We're turning dark red. That tickles. What right is this?
We are all children and we are all special. We might move on wheels or on our feet. We might speak with our hands or with our mouths. We all have rights.
How are you the same as your friends? How are you different?
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Lipa, you said that all children have rights, but that we often need help to get them and to be able to use them. What does this mean?
We should help each other with our rights as much as possible. Think about this. You have the right to healthy food, but so does Big Sister Cisse. If you take all the food, what about Cisse's rights?
Oh, what else can I do to help others with their rights?
You have the right to say what you think, but so do others. We need to listen to others too.
So that it's fair for everyone.
Exactly. It is also important that adults look after us, listen to us, and take us seriously. They should treat everyone fairly and think of what's best for us children. That's why everyone must know children's rights, both adults and children.
Okay. I found the colors on the sun. Spin the colors round and round. This time you say stop. Oh, we're turning brown. That tickles. What right is this?
Everyone must know children's rights.
Who can you tell about children's rights? I'm so happy we learned about children's rights. Thank you, Lipa, for helping us. Let's sing our song together and go home.
I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights. I have rights. You have rights. We all have rights.
Today, November 21st, is also commemorated as World Television. Television continues to be the single largest source of video consumption. Though screen sizes have changed and people create, post, stream, and consume content on different platforms, the number of households with television sets around the world continues to rise. The interaction between emerging and traditional forms of broadcast creates a great opportunity to raise awareness about the important issues facing our communities and our planet. In the 21st century, what is the purpose of a TV? It's not just a one-way channel for broadcast and cable content anymore. Modern television offers a wide range of multimedia and interactive content such as streaming videos, music, and internet browsing. Despite the shift in the audiovisual content consumption to different platforms and the constantly evolving technology, TV still remains an important communication tool. As the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, reminds us World Television Day is a celebration of how television has become a symbol of connection and globalization in the 21st century. The United Nations provides a suite of multimedia products and services covering the work of the United Nations, both at headquarters and around the world, to reach audiences and support the work of international news media. UN Web TV is the organization's official streaming video platform for live and on-demand coverage of United Nations meetings and events. UNTV provides live feeds and HD broadcast quality files on demand. UN videos are produced for news and social media platforms as well as for broadcast partners in the 6 official languages of the UN, including French, Spanish, English, Chinese, Arabic, Russian, as well as Hindi, Kiswahili, and Portuguese. UN video producers report from locations around the world to bring you the latest content on the work of United Nations and its agencies. From peacekeeping missions and humanitarian crises to international events and summits, UN Video tells stories that inform and inspire audience across the globe. UniFeed breaking news footage of breaking news and events in field missions and UN agencies are shared with partners in raw news packages by UniFeed, which enables news providers to cover important global issues by offering timely broadcast quality video from throughout the UN system. Stories came from the global network of UN, specialized agencies, funds and programs, peacekeeping operations, and UN headquarters. News stories are posted on the UNIFEED website as soon as they become available. UNAV Library, the UN Audiovisual Library, has a treasure trove of archival video and audio, making iconic and historic moments from the last 70 years. In recognition in the increasing impact television has on decision-making by bringing world attention to the conflicts and threats to peace and security, and its potential role in sharpening the focus on other major issues, including economic and social issues, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 21st November as World Television Day through its resolution 51 by 205 of 17 December 1996. World Television Day is not so much a celebration of the tool, but rather the philosophy which it represents. Television represents a symbol for communication and globalization in the contemporary world. On 21st and 22nd November 1996, the United Nations held the first World Television Forum, where leading media figures met under the auspices of the United Nations to discuss the growing significance of television in today's changing world and to consider how they might enhance their mutual cooperation. That is why the General Assembly decided to proclaim 21st November as World Television Day. This was done in recognition of the increasing impact television has on the process of decision making. Television was thus acknowledged as a major tool in informing, channeling, and affecting public opinion. Its impact and presence and its influence on world politics could not be denied. The 25th November is also commemorated as International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. More than 5 women or girls are killed every hour by someone in their own family. Almost 1 in 3 women have been subjected to physical and or sexual violence at least once in their life. 86% of women and girls live in countries without legal protection against gender-based violence, as per the data from UN Women. So this year, Team Unite invest to prevent violence against women and girls with hashtag no excuse. You are not alone. The violence against women and girls remain one of the most prevalent and pervasive human rights violations in the world. Globally, an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical and or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both, at least once in their life. This courage has intensified in different settings, including the workplace and online spaces, and has been exacerbated by post-pandemic efforts, conflicts, and climate change. The solution lies in robust responses, including investment in prevention. However, alarmingly, data on how much nations are committing to counteract violence against women and girls remains glaringly sparse. For instance, just 5% of the government aid is focused on tackling violence against women and girls, and less than 0.2% is directed to its prevention. We need more investment in women's organizations, better legislation, prosecution of perpetrators, more services for survivors, and training for law enforcement officials. The International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women has marked the launch of Unite campaign, that is from November 25th to December 10th, an initiative of 16 days of activism, concluding on the day that commemorates the International Day of Human Rights, or International Human Rights Day, which is commemorated on 10th December every year. The campaign, this 2023 campaign, Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls, will call on citizens to show how much they care about ending violence against women and girls, and call on governments worldwide to share how they are investing in a gender-based violence prevention. Join the global movement with the No Excuse slogan, calling for urgent investments to prevent violence against women and girls. Dig deeper into the campaign's proposal, data, prevention, investments, and join the global movement with the hashtag no excuse slogan to eliminate violence against women and girls. Be a voice for survivors and for the associations and movements that fight for women's rights. We all can do something to empower survivors and prevent and reduce gender based violence. Why we must eliminate violence against women? Violence against women and girls, in short known as VAWG, remains largely unreported due to impunity, silence, stigma, and shame surrounding it. In general terms, it manifests itself in physical, sexual, and psychological forms, encompassing intimate partner violence, battering, psychological abuse, marital rape, femicide, and so on, sexual violence and harassment, including but not limited to rape, sexual acts, unwanted sexual advances, child sexual abuse, forced marriages, street harassment, stalking, cyber harassment, and so on. Human trafficking includes but not limited to slavery, sexual exploitation, female genital mutilation, and child marriage, and many more. To further clarify, the Declaration of Elimination of Violence Against Women, issued by the UN General Assembly in 1993, defines violence against women as any act of gender based violence that results in or is likely to result in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women, including threats of such acts, coercion, or arbitrary deprivation of liberty, whether occurring in public or in private life. The adverse psychological, sexual, and reproductive health consequences of VAWG affect women at all stages of their life. For example, early set educational disadvantages not only represent the primary obstacle to universal schooling and the right to education for girls, down the line they are also to blame for restricting access to higher education and even translate into limited opportunities for women in the labor market. While gender based violence can happen to anyone, anywhere, some women and girls are particularly vulnerable. For instance, young girls and older women, women who identify as lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or intersex, migrants and refugees, indigenous women and ethnic minorities, or women and girls living with HIV and disabilities, and those living through humanitarian crisis. Violence against women continues to be an obstacle to achieving equality, development, peace, as well as to the fulfillment of the women and girls' human rights. All in all, the promise of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, to leave no one behind cannot be fulfilled without putting an end to the violence against women. So let's put an end to this problem by using data. The availability of data on gender violence has improved substantially, and there is currently information from at least 161 countries. The United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, and the UN Women are working to draw conclusions from these figures. And the UNFPA multimedia website with data classified by country as well as UN Women Facts obtained through its global database to end gender violence. We can join us on the new global multi-layer initiative focused on eliminating all forms of violence against women and girls, the Spotlight Initiative. The program results last year were outstanding, 22% increase in prosecution of perpetrators. 84 laws and policies were passed or strengthened, and more than 650,000 women and girls were able to access gender-based violence service despite restrictions related to the pandemic. In India, you can call 1091 or 1291 to access the services of women and child. So, Unite to End Violence Against Women campaign. The Unite to End Violence Against Women initiative is a multi-layer effort to eliminate violence against women and girls around the world. The initiative, launched in 2008 under the leadership of the UN Secretary General, was created to support the civil society-led 16 days of activism against gender-based violence campaign around the world. Managed by UN Women, Unite calls on government, civil society, women organizations, young people and private sector, media, and the UN system to join forces to address the global pandemic of violence against women and girls. The global theme of this year's 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which turns from 25th November to 10th December 2023, is Unite, Invest to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls. So join the global movement with the hashtag No Excuse campaign, calling for urgent investments to prevent violence against women and girls. So when we look at the key facts on violence against women and girls, more than 5 women or girls are killed every hour by someone in their family. In 2021, nearly 1 in 5 women aged 20 to 24 were married before turning 18. 1 in 3 women have been subjected to violence at least once in their lifetime. So VAWG remains the most widespread and pervasive human rights violation worldwide, affecting more than an estimated 1 in 3 women, a figure that has remained largely unchanged over the last decade. The most recent global estimates show that on average, more than 5 women or girls are killed every hour by someone in their own family. So Unite Invest to Prevent Violence Against Girls and Women. How much does the world care about ending violence against women and girls? We don't know. And what we do know is the human cost of violence against women and girls is incalculable. The COVID-19 pandemic, conflicts, and climate change have exacerbated the risks of this violence and generated new threats, amplifying vulnerability of women and girls. Violence against women and girls disrupts peace and stability within families and communities. It triggers myriad costs to societies in healthcare, education, social protection, justice, and productivity, preventing economies from achieving their fullest potential. The solution lies in robust responses, including investment in protection. However, alarmingly, data on how much nations are coming up or committing to counteract violence against women and girls remain glaringly sparse. Supporting and investing in women's rights organizations is key to ending violence against women and girls. Research shows that the presence of a strong, autonomous feminist movement is the single most critical factor to drive policy change, ending violence against women and girls, both in domestic and global policy making. Women organizations play a vital role in providing services on a local level, bolstering women's empowerment and reaching those at risk of being left furthest behind. Yet only 1% of gender focused state aid is directed to these organizations, and funding has not improved despite increased momentum and clear evidence of the need. Only one quarter of the countries have systems to track budget allocations for gender equality overall. Data on the national budgets to address violence against women and girls are hardly available. According to the latest research, 78% of the countries have budgetary commitments to implement legislation addressing violence against women. But it is unclear how countries are integrating prevention across different sectors, including education, health, economic development, and social protection. That is why during this year's 16 days of activism against gender based violence, we are asking you to show us how much you care. We call on all citizens. Tell us how you are taking action. Are you using your creativity to promote a message of zero tolerance to violence? Do you use your time to engage with grassroots organizations working for a world where women and men have equal rights? Or are you perhaps questioning gender stereotypes that contribute to a culture of violence against women in online and offline conversations? Let us know. We also call on governments worldwide. Invest in prevention to eradicate violence against women and girls. Every effort invested in preventing violence against women is a step towards a safer, more equal, and prosperous world. Violence costs us all. Join us in demanding investments and actions to end it. The Spotlight Initiative is so named as it brings focused attention to this issue, moving it into the spotlight and placing it at the center of the efforts to achieve gender equality and women's empowerment in line with the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. An initial investment in the order of euros 500 million was made with the European Union as the main contributor. Other donors and partners were invited to join the initiative to broaden its reach and scope. The modality for the delivery is a UN multi-stakeholder trust fund administered by the Multi-Partner Trust Fund Office with the support of core agencies, UNDP, UNFPA, and UN Women, and overseen by the Executive Office of the UN Secretary General. So join us in the partnership so that the bold and transformative initiative is matched by equally ambitious political action, resources, and knowledge. Let's watch a short video on the Spotlight Initiative.
It's not that we haven't been working at it, but every now and again there comes a time in history where suddenly all the stars are aligned and you take that opportunity and you move. And I think that this is one where the European Union has been really helpful in putting a substantial amount of resources behind this issue. That helps.
We wanted to change the mindset, to change the attitude, to change the understanding of the problem, and we focused on a violence against women and girls because we see that violence is preventing so many aspects of a women's empowerment. If you deny access to education to a girl, to a woman, then this is a form of violence against women and girls. If you deny access to maternal health, to sexual and reproductive health and rights, this is again violence against women and girls. So we would like to tackle with the root causes of violence in each and every aspect, from a physical violence to this economic and social violence against women and girls.
Programs themselves will be happening in countries where it matters most, and so really finding a way to communicate that and put pressure on policymakers and those who can take the decisions to bring an end to this.
Violence against women and girls is a global issue. It's a global tragedy, I would say, and therefore the responses must be as global as possible.
There's a change in generation of what is acceptable and not, and people are speaking up, and I think that we're also getting more men's voices behind this. So I think the time is now.
The November 26th is also commemorated as World Sustainable Transport Day. So, transport is vital for promoting connectivity, trade, economic growth, and employment. Yet it is also implicated as a significant source of greenhouse gas emissions. Resolving these trade-offs is essential to achieving sustainable transport and through the sustainable development. In its 2016 report, the Secretary General's high-level advisory group defined sustainable transport as the provision of service and infrastructure for the mobility of the people and goods, advancing economic and social development to benefit today's and future generations in a manner that is safe, affordable, accessible, efficient, and resilient, while minimizing carbon and other emissions and environmental impacts. Sustainable transport is therefore not an end in itself, but a means to achieve sustainable development. Globally, the average annual carbon footprint per individual is 5.9 tons. Living car-free can reduce your annual carbon footprint by 3.6 tons. Switching from a regular vehicle to an electric vehicle can reduce your carbon footprint by an average 2 tons per year. So sustainable transport and sustainable development, with its objectives of universal access, enhanced safety, reduced environmental and climate impact, Improved resilience and greater efficiency is central to sustainable development. Apart from providing services and infrastructure for the mobility of people and goods, sustainable transport is a cross-cutting acceleration that can fast-track progress towards other crucial goals, such as eradicating poverty in all its dimensions, reducing inequality, empowering women, and combating climate change. Your guide to climate action, transport, whether it's for work or for pleasure. The choices we make on how we get from one place to another, driving, flying, ferrying, biking, scooting, and public transportation, can have a large impact on carbon emissions. Making informed lifestyle choices when it comes to transport can help us reduce carbon emissions and improve air quality, a win-win for both. So, recognizing the important role of safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport systems for all in supporting sustainable economic growth, improving the social welfare of the people, and enhancing international cooperation and trade among the countries, the General Assembly decided to declare 26 November as World Sustainable Transport Day. It also noted the importance of cooperation in enhancing transport connectivity through an integrated intermodal transport system by developing quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure, exchanging best practices to optimize the development of interconnected highways, roads, streets, railways, waterways, airways, areas of modal transport, and ports, and by encouraging transport infrastructure construction and operations to minimize consumption of energy, land, and other resources, generate lower emissions of greenhouse gases, ozone depleting substances, and other pollutants, and ensure a positive social impact. The Assembly invited stakeholders to mark World Sustainable Transport Day by means of education and holding of events aimed at enhancing the knowledge of the public on sustainable transport issues. In particular, enhancing intermodal transport connectivity, promoting environmentally friendly transportation, developing socially inclusive transport infrastructure, and other aspects of transport sustainability. Act now, ride a bike. Everyone can help limit climate change. From the way we treat, from the way we travel, to the electricity we use, the food we eat, and the things we buy, we can make a difference. The world's roadways are clogged with vehicles, most of them burning diesel or gasoline or petrol. Walking or riding a bike instead of driving will reduce greenhouse gas emissions and help your health and fitness. Be mindful of flying, walk, bike, take public transport or carpool. Consider shared modes of transportation. Consider an electrical vehicle. And with these few tips, you are contributing to the sustainable transportation. There are few actions for a healthy planet. Save energy at home, change your home source of energy, walk, bike, or take public transport, switch to an electrical vehicle, consider your travel, reduce, reuse, repair, and recycle, eat more vegetables, throw away less wood, plant native species, clean up your environment, make your money count, speak up, and many more. Choose your issue, make an impact. A just society, a better economy, a world working together. Finally, we have reached the last day of commemorations today. 29th November is commemorated as International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people. So in 1977, the General Assembly called for the annual observance of 29th November as International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, Wide Resolution 32 by 40B. On that day in 1947, the Assembly adopted the resolution of the partition of the Palestine, Wide Resolution 181 of 2. In Resolution 60 by 37 of 11th of 1st December 2005, the Assembly requested the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People and the Division of Palestinian Rights as part of the observance of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian People on 29th November to continue to organize an annual exhibit on the Palestinian rights or cultural event in cooperation with the permanent observer permanent observer mission of Palestine to the UN. The resolution on the observance of the International Day of Solidarity with Palestinian people also encourages member states to continue to give wider support and publicity to the observances of the Day of Solidarity. An exhibition is also planned on Palestine, a land with the people, on occasion of International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people on the 75th anniversary of the Nakba. Visitors lobby at the UN headquarters, 29 November 2023 till 8 January 2024. So the question of Palestine was brought before the United Nations shortly after the end of Second World War. The origins of the Palestinian problem as an international issue, however, lie in the events occurring towards the end of First World War. In 1947, United Nations accepted the responsibility of finding just a solution for the Palestinian issue and still grapples with this task even today. So with this, we shall end today's commemorations and we shall move on with daily commemorations from tomorrow onwards. Thank you everyone for joining us. The feedback form is being shared in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form before you leave the platform. The feedback form has been raised in the form of polls. We request everyone to quickly fill up the feedback form before you leave the class. See you all tomorrow at the same time with the same link with different commemorations. And this 1st December, we are celebrating World AIDS Day every year. And December 3rd is also commemorated as World Disability Day. If anyone is interested to make any presentations or talks on that day, you all are invited to share the information with your friends, and you can share your topic and other details to the coordinator on the email address wswd2023@gmail.com, so that we can schedule your session accordingly. So thank you everyone for joining us. Take care. Good night.